Good day, everyone. I am Blaise Can Jayford Bugahad,
And I am Vanessa Daniel.
and welcome to
English
English
161.
161. Today, we are going to discuss about standard-based assessment. In this video, we are going to find out what is standard-based assessment. What are the purpose of the standard-based assessment?
The key ideas of standard based assessment and core beliefs of standard based assessment.
Aside from that, we are going to differentiate standard-based assessment and the traditional grading, practice versus the assessment.
And answer some frequently asked questions.
What is standard-based assessment? Standard-based assessment, also known as standard-based grading, is built on the idea that grades must have meaning. Learning expectations are clearly defined. Students should have multiple opportunities to demonstrate learning, and academic achievement should be reported separately from non-academic items such as class participation and extra credit.
Standard based assessment allows students to learn at their own pace and understand that not every student will succeed on the first try. Homework and other similar items are treated as practice and part of the learning process. Therefore, students are provided descriptive feedback rather than a grade so that a student may improve their practice. Standard based assessment is designed to meet students at their current level of knowledge and provides a clear path for how to improve their knowledge of a standard. Students are assessed as an individual. They are provided with multiple ways to demonstrate their knowledge and with multiple opportunities to do so.
What is the purpose of the standard-based assessment? Well, the purpose of standard-based assessment is meant to offer a way that teachers can identify the skills that matter most, can evaluate student work fairly, can give feedback to students that is helpful and actionable, and can use data to revise upcoming lessons to meet their students' needs.
What are the key ideas of standard based assessment? Standards are established to clearly define grade appropriate knowledge or skills. Standards are used to guide teacher instruction to lead all students toward mastery of a common set of learning expectations. Formative assessment or practice consistent feedback and given to students during the learning process that drive both students' learning and teacher instruction. Formative assessment is not a factor in students' academic report card, but it is crucial to the learning process. Formative assessment is considered practice and will be used to track growth and be tracked for completion. Summative assessment of performance. This is assessment of learning after instruction, and formative assessment is complete and is designed to allow students to demonstrate what they know. Summative assessment will be recorded in progress book and shown on the academic report card using performance level descriptors to show a student's level of mastery of a particular standards. Performance level. Level of mastery a student has achieved for a particular standards. Students receive a performance level descriptor on all summative assessment as scored against a rubric for that standard. Met the standard. This is the highest level of achievement a student can receive. Signifies that the student has a complete understanding of the standard and can successfully and constantly demonstrate that understanding. Approaching the standard. It is indicate a student is progressing in his or her knowledge of the standard but may not be successful in constantly demonstrating the knowledge. Developing knowledge of the standard. It indicates a student has a basic understanding of the knowledge and skills related to a particular standard. At this level, A student is building a foundation of knowledge needed that will eventually lead the student to a higher levels of achievement. Feedback provides clear, descriptive communication to a student about areas of strength and areas where improvement is needed to help the student's progress through the performance levels. Feedback is used to assess student learning for all formative assessments and can take the form of written or verbal feedback.
What are the core beliefs of standard-based assessment? Well, the core belief of standard-based assessment is that a grade or an assessment should clearly represent what a student knows and is able to do, not the ability of a student to comply with certain expectations. This belief has resulted in certain non-negotiable expectations of all students and staff. These non-negotiable expectations that all students and staff will follow are shared understandings. First, academic grades should not be used to punish non-compliance behavior. Example, lower score for late work. Second, students should not be assessed on their journey towards learning. Practice should never be scored or assessed. Third, homework is practice. Assigning a score or a grade to homework distorts grades. Fourth, extra credit should never be given. Extra credit inflates grades and does not accurately reflect what a student has learned. Fifth, reassessment allows students to learn at their own pace. And lastly, new evidence of learning should always replace old evidence of learning, even if this means a potential lower score replaces a higher score in the grade book.
In shared practices, first, lateness and non-compliance are behaviors that will be addressed through discipline procedures and reported in areas separate from students' grades. Second, using extra credit and late penalties will be not used. Third, formative assessments, homework, practice, and other learning activities may receive feedback but will not be scored or assessed. Fourth, students are expected to complete all formative assessments, homework, practice, or other learning activities. These activities are critical pieces of a student's learning experience. Fifth, only summative assessments will be scored based and assigned a performance level descriptor. These descriptors will be reported to progress book and weighed toward a student's report card mark. Sixth, if a student has not met the standard on a summative assessment, a retake may occur after additional practice has taken place. Lastly, the reassessment score will replace the previous score.
Now we are going to find out the distinction of standard-based assessment and the traditional grading.
In standard-based assessment, students receive a performance level description or met the standard, approaching the standard developing knowledge of the standard to indicate a student's level of understanding for a particular standard. While in traditional grading, students receive a letter grade A, B, C, D, and F by averaging the total points earned during a grading period. In standard-based assessment, performance levels represent the overall trend of learning for a student. Performance levels are recorded for each individual grade level standard in the course. While in traditional grading, grades are cumulative or a single grade for each course and may not be given an accurate picture of student learning.
Homework and daily assignments are considered formative or practice and are not factored into a student's performance level. Students receive feedback so that they may improve their knowledge and understanding, leading to higher levels of achievement on summative assessments. While traditional grading, homework and daily assignments are often graded and given points that become part of total points that are averaged at the end of the grading period to assign a letter grade. Students are penalized for doing poorly on homework. In standard-based assessment, performance levels are not used to punish students and only represent a student's level of mastery. Effort, participation, turning work in, and time management are not part of a student's performance level score. In traditional grading, grades often punish students. A student who turned in an assignment late might receive a low grade based on when the work was turned in rather than the knowledge level of the student. Rubrics provide clear expectations of what it means for a student to achieve each performance level. While traditional grading, students are often unsure about how work is graded, as each assignment, quiz, or test may be graded differently.
And now we are going to distinguish about practice and assessment. In a standard-based environment, formative assessment is considered practice. It is then graded and does not become part of a student's overall score or provided official evidence of performance level. Items such as homework are considered formative assessment and should be assigned to provide meaningful independent practice, reinforce and extend learning. As such, homework should never be used to learn material for the first time. Formative assessment is a tool for learning and should never be represent the final product of the learning process. In addition, it is often difficult to determine whether homework was completed by the student on his or her own, nor should there ever be any expectation that every piece of homework was completed independently by the student. It is perfectly acceptable that a student receive help on homework. Homework is practiced and we rarely practice alone. Consider the things you have learned to do in your life. You have learned to ride a bike, drive a car, play a sport, learn to cook, or learn specific parts of your job. How many of those things did you do well for the first time, the second or third time? How many of those things did you learn without the help of anyone else? How many times did you fail and threaten to quit? What kept you going and growing? Our belief is that failure is not just going to happen. It is expected and can be used to help us grow. Now, apply this to a student learning. If we allow students to practice and fail, provide specific feedback to promote growth, and not assign failing grades to those practice attempts that only serve to punish students, we can create judgment-free educational environments in which all students can learn.
While the term assessment is used to describe an activity in which a student will receive a score and that is reported as a performance level descriptor and reported to progress book and ultimately to a student's report card, also known as summative assessment. These activities occur after learning has taken place. Assessment serve to provide students with the opportunity to formally demonstrate what they have learned. Assessment can take many forms including, but not limited to tests, quizzes, reports, essays, and projects. They also can take both written and verbal form. In short, A student can demonstrate their learning in many different ways, and assessment should not be viewed as one size fits all approach. Although assessment takes place after practice and the learning process, not all students will be successful in demonstrating the highest level of performance, or what we call the met the standard, on the first attempt. Since this is the goal for all students, any students who falls below this level will be allowed and expected to complete a reassessment. These students will have the opportunity to engage in further practice and receive additional instruction and support from their teacher. The students will then have another opportunity to demonstrate their learning through another assessment.
This time, we are going to answer some frequently questioned regarding the standard-based assessment.
What are the advantages of the change to standard-based assessment?
The biggest advantage of standard-based assessment is the focus on power standards and daily learning targets that are constantly communicated to the parents throughout instruction. Through assessment and reporting, teachers, students, and parents are able to clearly see which skills and standard had been mastered and which still need practice. Conversation between teachers and students or parents are centered on what I really need to be learned rather than how do I get an A. Have shown that by changing the conversation and focus on learning, students learn at a deeper level.
Is basing grades on standards subjective?
Honestly, all grading has some element to subjectivity. However, grading in a standard-based assessment seek to eliminate many of the subjective elements of traditional grading. All assessments are designed with the end in mind. What does it mean to meet the standard? This result in the development of clear criteria and distinct level of understanding. By having specific criteria that are based on a specific state standard, it is easier to control many other factors that can influence a grade.
How does my child gets an A?
In a standard-based system, students do not receive letter grades. Instead, a standard is identified and students is assigned a performance level based on their demonstrated understanding of the concepts found within that standard at any given point in the school year. Students may progress through the different performance level with the goal of achieving the highest level of met of standard.
That's the end of our discussion. Thank you and God bless.